more abundantly. Now, getting back to the Constitution, it says that we have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If you want the greatest life that there ever could be on the face of this earth and in the earth and beyond the earth, is that joy that comes and life that comes through Jesus Christ. You'll never experience any more joy or any more life than that. And I see people that even people that argue the whole thought of God, the whole thought of, history and justice, and you know who I'm talking about. But they get into such negative places. I mean, the cynicism just drips. And I would like them to be happy. That's my goal. I want them to be happy. And I know they debate me until they're blue in the face, and I'm kind of the personality as being a member of the Marine Corps, USMC, Uncle Sam's Misguided Children. And as a member of that, I was taught never to give up. So I don't. I always keep going, and I try the hardest I can. One of the hallmarks of my life, and I hope it's of yours too, is that every time I fall down, I get back up. And I try. And I try to get better. I try to grow smarter, wiser, have more wisdom, and that comes from God. I try to, things when I fail, I have failed so many times in my life that is unreal. And I'm only 52 years old. I got a lot of time left to go. We have a bunch of what we call long livers in our family, and that's not referring to the internal organ. That is referring to their lifespans. And I have many relatives who were in their 90s when they died, mid-90s. So I'm just a young pup yet. I got another 40, 50 years to go. So I'm going to go burning out for Jesus Christ. I'm not going to quit, and I'm going to do what I feel is right. And I know I'm going to fall over and over and over again, but I know every time God's going to help me to pick myself back up and get back in the saddle if you feel like falling off a horse and get back at what he wants me to do. Because my life is not my own. He owns me. He owns me. That's right. A lot of people that are unsaved don't like the thought of that they're being owned by God, that he created them. Now, here's a great verse, speaking of being owned by God. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10. Now, this is in the Bible. So if you don't know what the Bible is, okay, you can get them free in any hotel. You can go to any church in this country, and I hope to God they do the right thing. But go in and tell them you want a Bible. They will give you a Bible. Call the show. I'll get you a Bible. There's no doubt about it. I will do it. If you want to contact me personally to get a Bible, 315-744-0007. 315-744-0007. That's right. I'm not 007, I'm 0007. Even better than that guy from England. So getting back to my foolishness here, but if you need a Bible, you need to get a hold of one. But getting back to Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10, if you do get a hold of a Bible, you can open the front cover, and soon you'll find a list of all the books in the Bible. And this book is happening to be called Ephesians, and it'll say a page number. So turn to that page in the Bible, and then look up chapter 2 and verse 10. And the Bible is very logically laid out for those who have never read the Bible, and I know a lot of people who have never read the Bible and are quite ignorantly blissful in not reading the Bible. But I just want to teach you a little bit about navigating around. There's so many young kids today that have no idea what's in the Bible. They don't have any Sunday school teaching even. They don't even know about Jonah and the whale. So please pick up the book and give it a read. It may hold the difference between you and where you spend eternity. So I encourage you to do that. And thank you for the American Bible Society that passes out Bibles all the time. You're a great bunch. And the Gideons also, who pass out Bibles. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10. Now listen to this, and this is about being owned by God. We are His, being God, handiwork or workmanship or what He made. We are made by Him. So we are created. Now listen to this. We are his workmanship. So he created us in Christ Jesus. Listen to this. To do good works. Okay? Which God prepared in advance for us to do. Okay, and you say, why, Greg, why did you stop over all those words and just, kind of really emphasize them? Because this is kind of what the basis of what I'm trying to say here on the show is, that we own nothing. It's all owned by God, first of all. We are his handiwork. We were created, okay? If we're a created being and we were made by someone, don't you think we owe that being that made us everything that we have? In fact, everything that we get, it comes from God. All good gifts, it says, come from God and come from above and that are given to us. So shouldn't we be happy that he has created us? And he's created us in his Son, Christ Jesus, to do good works. Now remember, when I opened the show, I talked about doing good works, and we're not only judged by what we do, but what we leave undone. And when we see need and walk by it, we are leaving something undone, and we should not be doing that. So we are made and created to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. Let me tell you, God has a plan for your life, and it was before eons and eons ago. He knew you, and before even time began, he knew you and knew what you would be like. And he prepared things for you to do in your life in advance of your creation, in advance of making you. He had a plan for you to work and for you to do. It's a special plan just for you. And for me, it's taken the avenue of now going into broadcasting and radio, which I am thoroughly enjoying, and it's an exciting thing in my life. But God has prepared us to, in advance, work for us to do, for us. Now, this isn't for everybody else around us or those people in the church over there or some organization. It's for us to do. So I would just like to just tell you about that and just encourage you today, do good works because you are owned. I know people say, oh, he owned you or she owned you. That means that they beat you up or that they took advantage of you. In this case, it's a good thing. I love being owned. I'm a slave to Jesus Christ, and I hope you will be one day too. Okay, another coffee break. Sorry about that. Getting back to the show. Let's talk about our government and how it was formed. Just a little tidbit here. I heard a show this past week, and they were talking about the government of the United States and how it was founded and how it was formed and what it was formed on and what the purpose of it was then and what's going on now. And when I was listening to this, they hit upon a phrase that kind of intrigued me. They said, when the initial Constitution of the United States and the Bill of Rights and the Declaration of Independence and all these great documents were being written, there was an idea called pluralism. Now, I don't believe in religious pluralism, so nobody jump off the ledge because I talked about pluralism. I believe there is one God and there's one way to him through his Son, Jesus Christ. So, I'm not a religious pluralist, but I am a pluralist when it comes to government or political theory. What pluralistic political theory says, there should be competing centers of power in society so that there is a marketplace for ideas. And again, I'll get back to that. Pluralism, political theory, states that there should be a competing center of powers in society so that there is a marketplace for ideas. Now, in our Constitution, in Article 1 and Article 3 of our Constitution, it talks about these ideas, these separate, competing centers of power. Now, the first one, it talks about the Congress. Article 1 talks about the Congress and the Senate, which make up the Congress. And then in Article 3, it talks about the judiciary branch. And the other article escapes me right now. Let me pull out my handy-dandy Constitution right here at my fingertips. I just happen to have one of those right here. And you should get one of those, too. I think they're kind of a neat thing to have. But it talks about the president in one of these. Okay, yeah, here we go. In Article 1, Section 3, it talks about the president. And so we have our executive branch. So we see in the Constitution in Article 1, it talks about the Congress. In Article 1, Section 3, it talks about the president or executive branch. And then Article 3 talks about the legislative or the Supreme Court of the United States. And these three groups have competing and centers of power where they have, each of them has a job to do, and they're supposed to work together through this pluralistic political theory to produce good for the people of the nation for which they govern, which is our nation, okay? So this is what we want them to do. We want them to work together. And at the time the Constitution was written, these three groups did work together, and they did, practice this pluralism of their politics and the different centers of power. They did practice that, and it did a lot of good for our people, all the way up until, probably, I'm thinking around World War I, World War II, somewhere around that idea. And then somebody got the bright idea that maybe we should bring a little socialism into the United States and start giving out money for free. Well, when these programs started off, they were pretty good ideas. The Tennessee Valley Authority, when they put in that system, they hired people who were poor, put them to work, give them jobs to do. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about some being able to meet the very, very poor. But this was a program that put people to work. It was a public works program, and it was a great idea. And it is still, to this day, if you look at what's happening with the Tennessee Valley Authority, and some of you don't even know what I'm talking about, but look it up on the internet, Tennessee Valley Authority, and it's a system of dams that dammed up rivers. It provided power for rural, poor communities, and it's helped those communities to prosper and grow over the decades. That's one program. There's several others like it, and I could keep going on this, but in the interest of time, I'm going to shorten that up. But then we started coming into this idea that, hey, we should be taking care of the extremely poor who are starving. Now, I'm all for that. In fact, I believe that this is the duty of the Church of Jesus Christ to meet the needs of the poor worldwide, not just here in America, but worldwide. And that is accomplished one person at a time. Yes, I'm speaking to you sitting in your chair right there now listening to the show. I'm speaking to you that you need to get up and go out yourself and help other people. It's never going to happen from your living room in front of the TV, okay? It's never going to happen in front of the video game that you're currently playing and wasting your mind on. You say, oh, that's insulting. You're telling people that play video games that they're wasting their minds. Well, you know what? Happens to be true. Deal with it. Okay. That's my unjoyful part of the show for you that are listening. Remember, I was going to talk about joy today. But getting back to these articles of the Constitution, we need that competitiveness of ideas. But we have now switched over to a tribalism in our government today. I skipped over a lot of parts from the Tennessee Valley Authority to where we are today. But needless to say, President Roosevelt did us no favors. I'm not a fan of him, never will be. He instituted a lot of socialistic things, and it is led now to tribalism, where we have not a pluralism of our competing centers of power in our society. We have this tribal group where